Good evening and welcome to the Shack. My name is Barbara Gray from Clarity here in the UK, and tonight's a special evening, and I'm hoping that some of our friends will join us. Grace is in the room with us all the way from Brooklyn. So let's just see if we've got some friends in the room first. Tonight, I thought we'd have a little trip down memory lane. So how does that sound? Grace says sound is great. So let's just wait for a few friends to find us. And then, yeah, we'll have a little trip down memory lane. How are you? Are you enjoying the weather? What is the weather like where you are? It was a beautiful day again here. I was feeling a bit jaded today. Yesterday was my first time on Hobby Maker on a mainstream TV channel, and it went very well indeed. In fact, we sold out. We had plenty of stock, trust me. And so we sold out, and I didn't even have enough stock to be realistic with Easter and people on holiday, etc. I didn't want to over stress everybody at work, so I didn't do the 7 o'clock show. Boom. Yeah, that was okay. I managed to get home. So it's quite a long way to Redditch. So I got home about 9:30. It was good. I'm just looking here. Good evening, Ken. Nice to have your company. Come on in. Yeah, Jane's there as well. Look, all the familiar faces. This is the old shackers. Patsy, hello. Nice to have your company too. And Helen. Oh, Helen Stevens. I haven't seen you for a while. Are you okay, Helen? Are you coming to the open days this year? Be nice to see you if you do. Anyway, I hope you're all coming to the open days. I know it's a long way. I know it's a long way for some of you, but it really is. I tell you what, if our Pat Hosking was able to come all the way from the Lizard in Cornwall, there's no excuses there. Yeah, she used to come. And I thought this evening, we'd have a look at Pat's artwork and take a trip down memory lane and go back to lockdown. Yeah. Pat passed away last year. Was it last year? It was last year. Seems like so long ago. And about a year ago now, in February, I think. Yeah, in February. The 1st of February. There we are. And we went down to the funeral, and it was a long way. And I kept thinking, she used to come all this way to the open days. You know, it was a right mission, but she did it every year. And yes, we went down to the funeral, and I met her family and her kids. And Gracie in Brooklyn. Yeah, I've already mentioned you, Mrs. Gracie's there too. And we went down to Cornwall anyway, and we met her children, and it was quite a funeral, you know. It was a real celebration of Pat's life. And at the time when we went back to the house, I think I may have told you this when I got back. Sarah and Anne had put Pat's artwork out. She had a little room, and we got talking about when we were in lockdown, and how important lockdown and the shack was for Pat, who lived alone, you know. And it was just fascinating. And looking at her artwork, I said to Sarah, I'd really like to be able to show our friends in the shack Pat's artwork and her folders, because she said, you know, it was quite something whenever, and Anne as well, the other sister, you know, they said whenever at 10 o'clock in the morning, when we got on the bus and we went during lockdown, do you remember? How can you forget? Pat would go into her room, and she was not to be disturbed. And God help anybody that interrupted her while she was with Barbara and her friends. And then in the afternoon, and this was quite fascinating, it was almost like a brilliant course of study for her, you know, even though she was so talented, but it kept her going, you know, and it kept her occupied and it kept her sane, as it did for so many of us, right? And in the afternoons, if we did something in the morning, we're going to have a look at our folders. It's impeccable. If we doodled something in the morning, then she'd have a break at lunchtime, and then in the afternoon she would practice that, and she would perfect whatever it was that we'd done in the morning. And then she had a folder, and we're going to look at this. We're going to look through her folder together. So I think that would be it's an honor, really, you know, and it would be good for us to go back in time. I don't look back a lot. I'm not a looker backer, you know. I keep my eye on the road ahead. But sometimes it's nice to go back and just remember, you know, I mean, lockdown, I can remember exactly what day it was because it was Gracie's birthday, the 23rd of March, 2020. Grace and Janice Phillips, they share the same birthday. And I can remember the 23rd of March, we all went into lockdown. And Grace was in New York. And at that time, I mean, early on in the pandemic, they used to call it, what did they call it then? Coronavirus? It changed names, didn't it? It morphed into different things as we went along. And I can remember being worried sick about Grace, and Grace being worried sick about us because we were so far away. Mark was in California. It was absolute pandemonium. And thank God for FaceTime. That's all I can say. Thank God for FaceTime. Aren't we lucky that we have FaceTime? You know, that kind of kept us going, didn't it? That and the SHAC, you know. But I can remember Grace, you know, during the beginning, at the beginning of the pandemic, New York was like the epicenter. It was just crazy bad, you know. And I can remember none of us really knew what was going on, did we? We were terrified. Well, I can only speak for myself. I was terrified. Didn't know what was happening. And I can remember, in case you're wondering what on earth is, this was how the SHAC was born. Safe, happy and creative. Stay home and craft. We didn't have any choice. We had to stay at home, didn't we? Because we were locked in. The government told us to stay indoors to stop the spread. And that was what we did. And you know, it kind of blurs. Does it with you as well? I kind of, when I think about it now, I can remember my mum and dad. I can remember dropping food off. I can remember doing that and standing outside the door and dropping food off. I can remember that. I can remember talking to them on the doorstep and always wearing masks, weren't we? But I can't remember when exactly that happened. It must have happened pretty quickly because otherwise they wouldn't have had any food. And but what I remember more than anything about lockdown, I remember also the absence of cars and traffic. Do you remember that? Quiet. It was actually quite nice because we live in the busy southeast of England. And I can remember it being really quiet, like when it snowed. You know what it's like in the deep of winter when it snowed and you wake up early in the morning and it's really quiet? Like the silence is amazing. And that was what I remember with the SHAC, with lockdown, was that it was very, very quiet, no cars. And I remember us, the bus, the SHAC. That I do remember. And I think it was because we got together every morning at 10 o'clock, like clockwork. And I can tell you that we started on the 30th of March. So it took us about a week to work out what the hell was going on. And nobody really knew, did we? You know, do you remember we were glued to the telly? It was just some kind of weird, it was like out of a film, out of a horror movie, really. And the hair growing. Do you remember? I had great big long hair. I had to tie it up. Yeah. Oh God, yeah, that's right, Jackie. I remember that as well. But I remember every morning getting together at 10 o'clock, sitting here, putting my lippy on, getting the cameras going, waiting for our friends to turn up. And I didn't know what we were doing. I really didn't. But I knew that we needed to stick together. I thought if we hang together, we've got a chance, because so many people live alone, like Pat, even though Anne, her daughter, lived in the house next door. It's still an isolation. It was very isolating, the whole thing, and very frightening. Not just for the elderly, for everybody really. And have we gone back to normal? No, I don't think so. I don't think we ever went back to the way it was before. I think there was BC before COVID, and then there was AC after COVID, and we're living AC now. I do think so. I don't think it ever really went back to the way it was, did it? At so many different levels, so much changed. I changed a lot, But COVID did give us the SHAC. The SHAC was born, that bus, and we did really well. We did really well. And a couple of weeks ago, I met up with Sarah. We met up in Hampshire because it's like halfway between her and us. And we had a lovely lunch, and she entrusted me with her mum's artwork. And it's pretty spectacular. So I thought it would be really special for you, her friends, to have a look. It's like a little memory jogger, because Pat's filing, she must have been an amazing businesswoman, because her filing skills are quite second to none. Okay, so I've got my file here. I needed it, of course, when we were in the SHAC. I think also it's about a little bit of control, isn't it? Because we had no control over much at that time. And so, like Pat, maybe there are some similarities here between that lady and myself. Because when I look at my file, right, and I was the bus driver, check this out, right? So this is quite something. Right, page 1, let's have a look. So this is my page 1. Monday, 30th of March, 2020. So nearly 5 years ago. Now check Pat's out. 30th of March, Clarity Worldwide. Facebook, 31st of March. Look, she was saving paper. Isn't it fascinating? So the birds on a wire. So do you remember that's where we started? Look, it's all right. I'll get faster as we go along. There are my birds on a wire, and there are Pat's birds on a wire. There are my twisted, and there are her twisted. Hey, look, so then I go to the 31st. I'm going to dump mine in a minute because Pat's is far more inspirational. Then I went to the 31st. There you go. And there's Pat's 31st. See? So then we did the tree and put the birds in the tree, didn't we? And then, let's have a look at mine. So then I did the little rabbits. This too shall pass. And Pat, yay. There you go. Look, this too shall pass. March 20. There they are. Isn't it great? So do you have yours all filed like this as well? From when we were on the bus? Every day. Every day. Let's have a look. I think what I'm going to do now, though, I'm going to put mine to one side because I trust that Pat's filing skills are impeccable. And at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if the days are a bit mixed up or not. I didn't study Pat's. This isn't versed. This isn't rehearsed. I'm hanging out with a bunch of friends tonight. It's the weekend of Easter. I thought that'd be perfect. Where Pat came from, when, if you met Pat, if you knew Pat. I mean, I got to know her because of the SHAC, but not only just the SHAC, through Linda Williams as well, through Pergamon. She was a big Pergamano expert, you know, went all over the world teaching parchment. All over the world. I've got boxes of it. And I was thinking at the open days, what would be really, really fabulous. I'm going to take her artwork and make a lovely display table of Pat's art, you know, just a little, just so that you can see some of the beautiful three-dimensional artwork, and it'd be really nice. I think you'll really enjoy it if you're coming to the open days. It would be lovely. I'm just going to make a table next to the pottery next to me so I can keep an eye on it and we can chat and look at her artwork. I think it'd be nice. You know, friends remembered, because she really was quite a legend in my world. She was. So, should we have a look at some of her artwork? And yours are all filed as well, Debbie, are they? I bet Jill, we're all in a book. Yeah. See, I don't even know, because, and maybe you'll be able to help me a bit here, because in the beginning, it's like I said, I think we had so little control over stuff that I was like, whoa, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. And because I was a bus driver, it was great, because I needed to get ready. I needed to know where the bus was going every morning. I needed to keep smiling, you know, I needed to fake it to make it. There was no point in me being miserable, no point in having a miserable bus driver, you know, and so it was a lifeline for myself and for a lot of you too. And but then, of course, we're trying to keep clarity going at the same time, you know, and then there came a point where, and I don't know when, because my filing went to pot. my filing just blew up because I was so busy trying to keep the business going as well as mum and dad, and then, I mean, filing failed me. So the beginning, it's all good, and then it starts to fall apart. And I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that that we were getting back out into, you know, we were allowed to start, I wouldn't call it mingling, but we were allowed to start going back to work. And but for the life of me, I can't even, it's all a blur. I don't know if that's the same for you, but it's all a blur. I remember the first days more than I remember the last days, if you get what I mean. So it'd be nice if you've got your files out as well. Let's have a look at Pat now, because this gets really, really interesting. So then you'll remember we did the bird house and the little doodle. That was nice. Someone asked to find a photo of Pat. Okay, well, here's a photo of Pat. There we are. That's Pat. There's Pat as a young lady. There you go. She was born on the 23rd of November, 1936. So she was 6 months older than my dad. There we are. She died on the 1st of February. And there was Pat. This is getting towards the end of her life. She was a very slim, sprightly lady. Beautiful, right? So that's how I, you know, that's how Pat looks as well. Here's another really nice one of Pat. There you go, that Grace has just sent me. There's a lovely picture of Pat. Nice, eh? Yeah. So that's what Pat looks like. That's how I remember Pat. And also Sarah gave me this, so you can see Pat there. Look, Helston and the Lizard. This is Cornwall. She was Cornish through and through. The Helston Flower Festival in May, she was really involved with that as well. There we go. Look, Parchment Pat Part 4. Brilliant, hey? Look, Lizard Craftswoman publishes her latest book, 2005. A talented craftswoman from St. Martin has celebrated her decade-long association with parchment craft by publishing her 4th book on the subject. Pat Hosking of Gear Farm first became involved with the 400-year-old craft when she attended an evening class at Helston School. Yeah, there you go. Quickly becoming hooked, she produced a portfolio of work and within a year had gained the necessary qualifications to become a teacher of parchment craft. Since then, she has taught across the UK, as well as in Japan, Australia, Fiji, and Canada, and has become one of only 7 fellows of the Parchment Craft Guild of the UK. Boom. How about that then? Yeah. Oh, yeah, when Pat put her mind to something, so I'm told, it happened. She was quite a dynamic individual. Isn't that lovely? Now, let's have a look. I'm glad that you're all here and you're having a banter. I thought this would be just a nice way to celebrate Easter, to celebrate Pat, to celebrate the SHAC, to celebrate our community. Perfect. So that was the birds on the bird cage. And according to my file, that was quite early on in the, let's have a look. When was that? Yeah, I've got a few more different things, but that's okay. We'll keep going. It doesn't matter. It's not significant. You'll remember when we did the wraparound with home. There we go. And I did happy. Do you remember we did happy together? Fake it to make it and all that. And there's Pat's. Nice. You got to remember how at Pat's age at this point, when we were doing this, that would have made her in 20. She would have been well into her 80s at that point, wasn't she? You know, there were no flies on that lady. She was as sharp as a razor. So let's have a look. And then there we go. Do you remember the house that we built there? Oh no, Pat enjoyed that one. Look, and yeah. There you go. That was the episode 11 when we did the frame. Remember that frame? These are all, just so you know, friends. Look, we made a postcard of it. Just so you know, all of these, every single hour that we spent together during lockdown was is still available on YouTube, isn't it? Yeah, it doesn't go anywhere. There you go. There's that one I was looking for. That was the one. Look, that was the core. You know what? I'd forgotten how nice that was. That was the 4th and the 8th of April. 4th to the 7th and the 8th of April. We did that. See, because we used to get together every day, we were very prolific, weren't we? We used to do loads. So let's keep going with Pat. Are you enjoying this? This was the house that Barb built. I like that one. Oh yeah, there we go. There's the you see, and we drew that and then we put it somewhere in the garden. That was the idea. We put it, there it is, in the garden. We had to hide it in the garden, didn't we? Love it. So look how she practiced. See, this is what I love, to see somebody's sketches. Oh, look what she's written here. Roof wrong. Roof wrong? I don't know, Pat. I think your roof's fine, love. Ah, frame idea. Check this out. It's pretty cool, isn't it? I feel very privileged to be looking at this. Mango chutney. What we got here? Weaving bricks. Gosh, she was a creative. Looky. Doodling. Zentangle. Look, she was into it, wasn't she? I love that she just, you know, we say this all the time. Look. We say this all the time, that doodling is good for the soul. It's good for the heart, you know? And it really is. I mean, golly. Do you remember when we made the heart and then we broke it down into different patterns? Look, see on my one, look. See, we learned how to do this weave. I remember this one I remember this one. A lot of you threw your toys out the pram on that one. And I was like, well, it's not that difficult. But I can remember a few of you, and I even remember the names of your names. You were like, no, I'm not doing that, not enjoying that, I'm out. But do you know, at that time, there were most days, there were about 500 of us. 500 of us. And I don't say that for ego. It's nothing to do with that. It's to do with the fact that the world was on its knees. We were so lucky to find each other. 500 people. Think about that. I mean, even now we've still got sometimes 100. I can't see, but there's got to be a couple of hundred people in the room, you know. Between YouTube and Facebook, it's quite something. And Pat, I just feel her presence very often. So look how she just studied what we did, and it gave her something to focus on during those dark days. Look how many times she did it. Isn't that something? Look. She did it so many times. And then she made a card. Isn't that superb? There we go. An original by Pat Hosking, St. Martin, Helston, Cornwall. Here. Right. So then we started. Do you remember then? We decided it was time to start moving a bit. We got a bit bored. I remember thinking, we're going to have to go somewhere else. We can't just hang around in the shack. We're going to have to get on the bus. That's when the bus was born. And we started going abroad, and we went all over the world. Do you remember? And I think this is a cool one. And I don't remember in which order. So according to my calculations, we took a hot air balloon. Oh, I bet Pat, yeah, she's got it in different order. I bet she's right and I'm wrong. Doesn't matter. It's of no significance. But I remember we took a kite. We flew a kite. I've got a kite as well. There was my word. There was my doodle. There's my kite. Italy, Italia. I love those trees. And we did that kite with the trellis work. I know a few of you didn't like that one either, but isn't that a lovely frame? Do you know we've still got these? I'm going to have to revisit these stamps because they're rather lovely. So we did that one. See, at that point, I'd already stopped putting the date. Pat didn't know. May 2020, but we were more relaxed by this point, right? So Pat put that lovely frame in, and then, do you remember doing this? The hot air balloon. These were cool, weren't they? I'm sure I did a really cool. I remember because I was a bus driver. I'm sure I did a hot air balloon. There it is. Yeah. Da-da. Up and away. Oh, I even wrote this down. 13th of April, 14th of April. God, it didn't take us long, did it? It didn't take us long. That was a fortnight before we were in a hot air balloon and off we went. If we started on the 1st of April, the 30th of March, look, it only took us a couple of weeks. We were away. 2 weeks. Episode 14. Wow. I'd love to know what episode we're on now, 5 years in. Must be hundreds in. Interesting. So let's have a look at Pat's. So there, we went on the hot air balloon. Nice, nice, nice. And then we went to Japan. The geisha core. Do you remember that? I remember the geisha. I really enjoyed that. That was when we started getting, and this was the interesting thing. At this point, we were starting to realize, do you remember I kept saying, there are no experts in this building. Nobody's judging you. Do you remember? And then all those, oh, I can't do the birds on a wire. Because I remember when we were doing the birds on a wire, I remember when we tried to turn the birds on their sides and everyone was like, no, I can't do that. Just to turn the birds on their sides was too much. And then within 2 weeks, we were in Japan. We were illustrating geishas. We were doing fantastic artwork and beautiful cherry blossoms. We are, aren't we? We are so creative. I know. We're in the 400s now, Debbie says. In the 400s, are we actually? Crikey, Mikey. There, look. And just as Sarah and Anne tell me, every afternoon she would take what we'd done and she would practice it. Isn't that crazy? And Gracie says, do you remember how many memories started flooding into our brains because we didn't have any outdoor memories and distractions? That's right. And because we were on the bus, I can remember just telling you stories all the time. It was like non-stop, just telling you stories about New Mexico, because that was the next one. I've never been to Japan. It's still on my wish list. And Jill Wilding, I'm taking you in my suitcase. I know. Right. So look. And then we went to New Mexico and the Native American Indians, right? Yeah, I did too. Look, there, with the dream catcher and the arrows. I really liked. Remember the arrows? I mean, we did so well, didn't we? Blimey. Look at that. I mean, that is pretty spectacular what Pat's done there. And look, New Mexico. So I told you all about New Mexico. I know. I told you way too much, really. Look at those feathers. Beautiful. But I remember on Facebook, that was the other thing, is that's when Clarity Worldwide really, really grew legs as well, because that was where we used to post all our artwork, wasn't it? Yeah, quite something. Now, let's have a look. Hey, there's New Mexico again, see? Look, she didn't muck about. Huh. Yeah, let's keep looking. Ah, have we got some family members in the room? Well, that makes my evening. It looks like we do. Team Hosking Grogan are loving seeing Mum's work. Oh, I love that. Is that Roisin? It is. Welcome. Look at this. So this must be, now who is this person then? So we're going to know that somebody, so that means that was somebody born right in the middle of all that. Oh my goodness me. Look, and Pat did that fantastic artwork. Look at that. Now I wonder who that is. How cute. So that baby is 5 years old this week then, 28th of April. Yeah. Yeah, this is 5 years ago. 5 years ago. Isn't that cool? Look at that. Remy Paisy? How do you say that? Paisy or Pisey? It's Sarah, Roisin's phone. Ah, it's Sarah. Oh, hello, Sarah. Sarah. Nice. So who is Remy? Who's Remy? We want to know. Who's this? Because your mum made her a beautiful poster. Look at that. Oh, and then she did it twice just to make sure. One for test and one for best. I'm a lot more like your mum than I knew. Cool. Look at these people. Do you remember Kruger? Yeah, I remember this. So I spelt it wrong. Kasalama. Do you remember? And the elephants. The elephants. I enjoyed doing those Africans. And that tree. And look, the little man under the tree. Yeah, I remember that. So that was in May. We were into May. Oh, look, Egypt. Do you remember when we went to Egypt? I told you all about the Egypt trip. I remember telling you all about that as well. I think one day when I retire, but I am going to wait till I retire. When I retire, I'm going to do that. I'm going to go right back to the very first SHAC, because it's going to be like 400 hours, isn't it? You're going to be retired to do that. And I'm going to go right back and listen to all the banter and the stories. I think I'll do that. I still can't draw elephants, says Sheila. I have the solution, says Barbara. Aha! Yours. Look, do you remember? I said this the other day. Check it out. Family means everything. We stick together. There you go. These are our new elephants that we did. Ready for the online class, she said, plugging her online 1-2-3 workshop. And I tell you what, Pat Hosking would have been there if she was still around. I know that too. She would have loved it. Yeah, so if you can't draw elephants, Sheila, worry not. Look, this one's galloping. Brilliant. And look at the patterns. I mean, this is crazy good, you know. Now, let's have a look. What we got here? Oh, do you know what? I feel Hawaii. Aloha. Holland. Bit of practice. Yeah. And then we went to Amsterdam. Yeah. Do you remember? Cool. Look at that. And the buttons and the houses and the little... That's when we learned how to draw carrot people. Cool. We had a laugh, didn't we? Look, I'm just as bad. Look how long it took me to get a clog right. Just to draw a clog. There's Pat's clogs. Yeah. And then we got this. So when did we do this one? June the 8th. 50 hours, week 11. I'm glad she wrote that. So we were 50 hours in at this point, week 11. I remember that. Huh. And then she went off piste. Look, she grew her own wings. Started combining things. The longest day, the 21st of June, 2020. It's raining and blowing, so I drew this freehand. Ah, isn't that glorious? I love that. I love that. That would make a beautiful stamp, Sarah. Maybe we have to make a set of Pat Hosking stamps. Looky. Yeah. Right, now, lockdown art with Barbara Gray. Oh, look, right. Okay, shall I read this to you? Lockdown art with Barbara Gray in the SHAC. Just a piece of cake. For many weeks in lockdown, as COVID took its hold, while we were in the SHAC, there's a story to be told. Oh, look. I'm not going to get through this. I have a store of drawings, all neatly in a file, and every time I see them, a memory brings a smile. Oh, goodness me. To some folk, they're just scribbles, meaningless to store, but they bring back vivid memories of lockdown time and more. There are practice sheets of flowers and leaves and boats and birds and trial runs of toadstools and here and there some words. So we create our projects with minimum of tools, creating our own masterpiece, obeying COVID rules. No worries, it's just artwork, using COVID time to make. Enjoy the journey, Barbara says. It's just a piece of cake. Oh, Pat. God, dear. This needs publishing. Thoughts on a COVID Sunday. Nobody about. Oh, I've got to dry my eyes now. I thought this had happened. Oh, You soppy sod. Right. Thoughts on, when are we here? The 27th of June. Thoughts on a COVID Sunday. Nobody about, too wet to go out. What to do in doubt? Just doodle. No sign of the sun. Gardening is done. Cleaning isn't fun. Just doodle. Slowly make a line. Take a sip of wine. Drawing will be fine. Just doodle. Oh. A thank you card for the staff at the Macular Clinic. Oh, look at this. Cool, it makes you realise, eh? Isn't she amazing? Look, practice. Oh, look, another verse. Can we handle another one? Love it. Clarity. Oh, Barbara, let me clean me. I've got to dry my eyes first. Right, you ready? Oh. Okay. I could read it better on the screen. I'm crying too much. Clarity for artwork, clarity for skills, clarity for parchment craft, making paper frills. Clarity for stamping, clarity for dyes, clarity for groovy plates of every shape and size. Clarity for pleasure, clarity for fun, clarity for making friends and work well done. Clarity for SHAC, every day at 10. Clarity for Barbara's art, just needs paper and a pen. Oh, Pat. There you go. I'm gonna type that up, if I may, Sarah. That's gonna be on the front of the website because it sums everything up, doesn't it? And that was one of the things about the SHAC that I felt was really important, you know, was that you didn't need anything. You didn't need any, still don't really. Paper and a piece of pen. But paper and a pencil, really. A piece of paper and a pencil. That was all you needed, wasn't it, to join in? It wasn't like, oh, well. I mean, now things are different. Now you have to buy bits and pieces to keep us going. I know. If I in a perfect world, it would be different. But that's the way it is. And we really appreciate your support, you know? We really do. But for me, the SHAC was crucial that we didn't need anything other than a pencil and a piece of paper. And you know what was really strange? I'll tell you this, right? I would say, for example, okay, we're going to do some inking, and we've got these micron pens, right? And I'd say we've got these micron pens, and this is what I'm going to use. But you don't need to use this. You can use a biro, right? You don't need to use these. And it was the weirdest sort of psychology, reverse psychology. It was so strange, right? And I'd say, you don't need these. They're there if you want them. This is what I'm using. But you can use a biro, use whatever. Use what you've got. And do you know what? I can't tell you how many hundreds of those we sold. And I'd say, we're using the pergoliners, but you don't need them, right? And I didn't do it. It wasn't a ploy. I was genuinely saying, use what you got in the cupboard. Don't say, well, I can't afford it, so I can't join in. That was the whole purpose. It was coming from the right place. But it was the strangest, it was a phenomenon, really. And I remember speaking to a couple of business people, and they said, yeah, but you're not making any money. I said, how do you know that? You have no idea what's going on. You have no idea. The power of the SHAC, of the community. I said, until you're in it, you cannot imagine. It's a phenomenon. And it was a phenomenon, and it still is, really. And we learned so much, didn't we, through it, you know? Not just drawing, not just making friends. It was really something, you know? And it still is. It still is. And I'll tell you something else. If the shit ever hit the fan again out there and it kicked in something terrible, I mean, like it isn't going to, you know exactly where to come. You know exactly what we're going to do. And we'll go, and I'll get that bus revved up. I'll wipe those windows. I'll hoover the inside. I'll make it as fresh. I'll put fresheners out. We'll put flowers in a little vase at the front by the driver, and off we go again. And isn't that nice to know you've got that? And isn't it nice to know that all you will need is a pencil and a piece of paper? Mm-hmm. And maybe a pen. Yeah, it's good to know that. It's good to have that. Just know that, you know. Like today, my head went into a bit of a spin. Lots of things going on. It's the way it is. I can't help it. It's the way I'm wired. My head went into a spin. And, you know, I sat in the kitchen. And again, I rely on you. Several of you said when I was making those lovely birds for the raku that I'm going to do this weekend, come hell or high water, raku like firing, right? I'd made one owl. And loads of you saw, and without exception, you went, I like the owl, I like the owl, I particularly like the owl. The birds are lovely, but I love the owl, the owl, the owl, the owl. And I thought, I've only made one. And so this afternoon, I made another. I've got about 8 of them now, owls. And Dave says they all look like they've got peak caps on. The point is, my head was in a spin and I didn't know what to do with myself. And I was too tired to do business. And so I sat next to Dave, who was assembling stamp pens because they went berserk on telly yesterday. And so he was assembling loads of stamp pens at the dining room table or the kitchen table. And I sat next to him modelling little owls. Yeah, there you go. And by the time I'd finished modelling my little owls, my washing machine head had gone. You see? And this is what we said all the time in the shack. You get out of your head and you get with your hands, just like Pat. And she knew it. She knew it. She knew the way to stay sane was to stick close to the shack and just keep drawing. Get out of the head and get with the hands. She knew it, didn't she? And then we went to Hawaii. Aloha. Happy days. Do you remember? I really enjoyed Hawaii. Oh, it got better. There's my Hawaii. Aloha. Yeah. And since then, right, all those happy memories. Then Lahaina, razed to the ground, burnt, destroyed, everything gone. All those places that Dave and I and the family went to, all gone. The banyan tree, apparently it's growing back. But yeah, I still have really good memories of Hawaii. And I'm really lucky, to be honest, that and then we had it in colour. Look, then she went off in the afternoon and coloured it in. Look at that. What a masterpiece. Isn't that gorgeous? Wow. It's better than mine. I love it. Of course it's better than mine. It's Pat's. When was that? The 3rd of July, 20. She drew that on the 3rd of July, 23rd of the 6th. 23rd of the 6th, we drew it. And then she did it again on the 3rd of July. Nice. Thoughts on Hawaii, 3rd of July. Hey, she went back and revisited Hawaii. How to draw the hula girls, the surf shack boats and border swirls, and shade the calm and turquoise seas with palm trees swaying in the breeze. We learned so much and laughed each day, like so as Barbara showed the way, and brought to life our special art we once had thought we'd never start. I know we've shared a special time. Our memories are right in rhyme. It's time to love and leave Hawaii. Say thanks, I bid a fond goodbye. Oh, Pat Hosking, what are you doing to me? Hawaii. Do you know, that was another thing. The confidence. Our confidence grew, didn't it? Mine did. Mine grew massively. Raindrops keep falling on my head. Look, And then she was off on her own. She didn't need us. She was on she was on her own journey. There we go. The seasons. Do you remember when we did them? I really enjoyed those. And we did sort of partial art things, didn't we? Yeah. Oh, look at this. Isn't that gorgeous? An owl. To wit, to woo. That's beautiful, Pat. She did that in July 20. Cool. And then we did those triptychs. Do you remember those 3? Yeah, look at that. Pat. There, do you remember? I feel like I'm looking at my own artwork here. Look at that, with those toadstools. She enjoyed that. That would have been a Cornish. Yes, look. There's a proper little card. All hand-drawn, you know. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah. Well, Sarah, if you're still around, what a talent, eh? Your mum. And then we got into some colouring as well. And she was good at that as well. Look. Do you remember when we did the colouring, the birds? An advanced Pergamanoist. Look at her. There was an advanced Pergamanoist who fancied herself as a scientist. She preferred to parch at the dead of night. Inventions came when the light was bright. She had an idea for a groovy plate, a perga design etched in acetate. With parchment and tool, she found very soon that now she could parch by the light of the moon. Oh, wow! Blimey, Pat. Absolutely marvellous. What a treat. Oh, I remember this as well. Do you remember Under the Sea? We did all the fishies. God, I'd forgotten about that one. August 20. We were still going. August 20. No. Week 18. Week 18. How long were we locked in? Can you remember? God, dear. Thanks, Pat. How long were we locked in? Sarah just tagged a bunch of family members on Facebook so they can all see it too. Oh, well done, Sarah. Well done, Sarah. Your mum is a legend. She certainly is on this bus, in this community. SHAC Diary, August 20. So I think she's telling me, oh, right, let me see if I can read this one. Okay, from my SHAC Diary, August 20. Hang on, right. So we've surfaced from the ocean where we sketched seahorses and fish, and starfish kelp and gorgeous shells. 'Twas all that we could wish. And we've moved on to the postcards, colouring nature at its best. Such lovely little blue tits, our shading skills will test. From the SHAC comes a giggle. Not blue tits, too pedantic. TV insists they're garden birds. It just sounds more romantic. So we all laugh and giggle at this curious choice of words. In the SHAC, there'll be blue tits, as per the reference book of birds. Do you remember? Because when I went on Create and Craft, I remember taking the garden birds, the blue tits, and they said you can't use the word tits on telly. I said, okay, what do you want to call them then? Because we've got blue tits, cold tits, great tits. We've got tits galore in our garden. And they said, no, you can't say the word tits. I said, all right, you decide what you want to call them then. They said, we'll call them garden birds. And then of course, Pat must have picked up on that in the SHAC. Tits. Tits, 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 tits. My rad, my rules. Right. So, look, isn't that beautiful? Oh, Pat, I love that. Isn't that lovely? Bubbles and pebbles. Yeah. Look how she studied it. Look at this. Look at the looky. Draw very light oval. Shade 1, 2, 3. Yeah, look. Isn't that wonderful? And then she made a picture and a card with it. I tell you what, this is a rare privilege indeed. And I hope that you are enjoying it as much as me. That's quite something, you know. And then we did the baubles. Look, do you remember? Cool, look at that. Huh. We've got stamps of those ones and groovy plates. Yeah, we did do that. We did take some of our finest stuff that we doodled together, didn't we? They're the downloads, look. Oh, Pat must have made Christmas cards that year with these. Hey? Look. How smashing is that? Oh, yeah. Do you remember when we did the... So this is Pat's... This is where Pat comes into her own, really, with parchment and colouring on parchment. Isn't that fantastic? Look. Yeah. Today. Happy birthday. October 20. Yeah. Quite something, you know. Yeah. Oh, look. Here we go. Happy 21st birthday, Michael. October 20. So she used those brilliant with love. Look at all the little tiny bits. What a great artist she was, eh? What a fantastic artist. Look, the seasons. Spring, summer, little rabbits, autumn, little tractor. See the little tractor? Oh, snowman, October 20. Pat Hosking. I love her writing as well. She's got fantastic writing. Cool, look at that. Set at reduced to 95. Oh, look how clever she was. Hey? Oh, yeah. Do you remember when we did the little houses? Yeah. Cool. This has been a real treat. And that one, I remember doing that. Sorry about the boat moored in the front garden. This is Cornwall. This is the prototype. Wow. She's good, isn't she? This is Cornwall, look. God, I love that woman. Look at this. It's quite something, isn't it? Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. November 2020. Still going. She never missed a day, did she? She never missed a day. Nor did I. Wow. I love that, Pat. See now, wouldn't she have... So I haven't seen this. Isn't that interesting? You know, like those landscapes that I was doing? Cool. I knew that. You know, when I did the paper collages, the cottages and the lighthouse, and Pat would have loved that, wouldn't she? Cool. Yeah, she would have. She really would have enjoyed that. Look at that. We've got to look again now. Isn't that beautiful? There's a little church, houses, windmill, a hamlet, farm, fences. That's done so beautifully, you know. Oh, yeah, I remember doing these as well. Pat, look, Christmas scene. See, she was an artist in her own right. She really was, without the SHAC. The SHAC didn't... Pat enjoyed the SHAC, but let's get one thing right. Pat was an artist before she found us, you know. But she never had any arrogance about her. She was a completely, just a humble, wonderful lady, you know. I guess that's when you're in the company of real talent, you know. She had nothing to prove, did she? Look at that. Do you remember our gnomes? I think we're trendsetters. I remember that year. Then even Marks and Spencer's, everybody was doing gnomes. It's like, are we some kind of influencer? Oh yeah, look, she liked the jumper. That would have been her cup of tea. And the robins. Happy Christmas. See, she drew her own Christmas cards as well. Isn't that beautiful? Make art, not war. Yeah, look. Do you remember when we did the for Ukraine? And that's still going on. Shame, shame, shame on the world for letting that still be going on. Make art, not war. Cool, we raised hundreds, didn't we? Thousands of pounds with that stamp. Do you remember? We did. We really had a push on that. See, when we're together as a team, you know, like in the SHAC, we're formidable, really, you know. As an individual, Pat is a phenomenon, right? So now get 500 people together. You got 500 Pats, not all Pats, but you understand, you know, 500 individual energies, creative energies, all coming together. And then suddenly you realize together we are so much stronger, you know. I think that'll do. I think I am absolutely at peace. Having looked at Pat's work, look what she's put in the end. Oh, Pat. Look at this. I'm going to end on this. And this is quite coincidence. Look, there are our little corners. She's drawn this. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Invoice me and I learn. Oh, no. Involve me. I thought, Pat, you wouldn't write invoice me. That tells you where my head is. Invoice me and I learn. Oh, Pat would have laughed her head off. She would have absolutely fallen apart if she'd heard that. That's so funny. Right, start again. Cut. Tell me and I forget. Teach me and I remember. Involve me and I learn. There you go. And on that fantastic note, I'm going to love you and leave you. Sarah, if you're still with us, that was funny. If you're still with us, thank you so, so much for allowing us to spend an evening with Pat and enjoying her artwork. That's been a real, real privilege. And it's been great just remembering about the SHAC and what we did, you know, as individuals too. And I made some really good friends in the SHAC, you know, friends for life. So have a fantastic Easter, you know, and if you're worried about what's going on in the world, trust me, you're not alone. It's chaos out there, you know. But remember, we got through COVID together and we'll get through this together, okay? Most of this is not, there's nothing we can do, but what we can do is get together and stay together and keep each other company and keep each other sane. And on Monday, we've got a bank holiday, but on Thursday evening next week, so this time next week, I'll come up with something nice to doodle, okay? I've got a week to come up with something cool. So let's do that, okay? Is that a date? So I shall see you next Thursday. Gracie, thank you so much for everything. I don't think I've missed anything. Yeah, I don't think I've missed anything. I think it was just an absolute privilege, an honour and a privilege to look at Pat's artwork and spend an evening just remembering her. Okay? So have a lovely weekend. Lots of love. Go easy. And don't forget, get out of here and get with ease. Works every time. Bye-bye.